Welcome back. We had some technical difficulty cast. Always appreciate you. But I'm looking to to McKay Anderson of Backfire Games, and part one will be up somewhere very soon. So this will be the second part, if you will. It ended us, or it cut us off right about the time when I was talking about the illustrations in your game of Snack
Yep.
Time, a roll and feed game. I remembered this time.
Yes.
I have the email pulled up, so that's why I know I didn't falter there. Um,
Cool.
but because it's like it's zombies, or you were talked about a little bit of a darker sense of humor, the
hmm
juxtaposition between the artwork and the use of color, I would like for you to comment on that because it's so soft. The use of color in this game is so soft and it's appealing, even though some of these monsters are a little, grotesque, if you will, which I do
Yep.
like. So it's really cool visually.
Cool. Yeah. So the colors we went back and forth on a lot. If you do look up Bodhi's artwork, he tends to go with pastels. Pinks and greens are probably his most common, and that was part of what I fell in love with the art originally, was kind of that soft use of color. He does a lot of like monochrome um images with just like the whole thing's pink, it's just different variations of the same color. And I don't know why I like that so much, because usually color and like a lot and different colors are something that I typically really like, but this just felt fresh and different to me.
Yeah.
And so when we started, I was going with like monotone green for a lot of it. It just seems like slime, sewers, monsters like that fit green really well.
Yeah.
Um, what ended up happening was when you went green with a lot of these monocolored images, is they just got really like muddy looking, and just I don't know, something about it just wouldn't pop for us. And so you'll see in my gameplay playthrough on the Kickstarter site, I have a green notepad. That is, we ordered a lot of these custom notepads so that we could start play testing and distributing and stuff. And that's around the time that we were like, you know what, artwork just isn't really popping like we want it to. And so that's when we went through a lot. We settled on orange being a nice color that we liked. We went orange and blue for a little while, but it felt just like a little bit too electric. And so we settled on kind of this like purple and orange, which was my biggest fear, was that it would feel like Halloween. If you look at I could show some of my earlier images that they were a lot more saturated, a lot brighter orange and a lot brighter purple. And it looked like an advertisement for Spirit Halloween or like one of those Halloween stores.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, okay, we are launching around Halloween. I get it, but we need to make sure that when people first read this, it doesn't shout Halloween at them. And we went through a bunch of blind tests with people, and we're like, hey, take a look at this artwork. And none of them said that it spoke Halloween to them at all, even after seeing monsters and stuff. So we're like, okay, I think we got it. And a lot of that was driven by the cover art. We kind of like started with that cover artwork before we applied color to the cards. And so the color there kind of drove a lot of the card development, as far as the color scapes go. But yeah, we went through a lot trying to figure out what that would be. And just that kind of, like you said, that softness. You
Mhm.
kind of have to shy away from like pinks and blues. Otherwise it looks like a baby announcement. I don't know. There's
Right.
so much wrapped up in pastel colors, that I really hope we landed somewhere that feels like soft and like good, without being
To
too
feel
laced
good
in other
zombie. Yes.
associations. Yeah.
I'm looking at this. It's bringing me some happy thoughts.
Oh, good,
Uh,
good.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, great work with this illustration. It looks really cool. Um, and you worked hand in hand. Was it a point that you illustrated some of it and he colored, or he did all of it and
So
you improved the illustrations?
yeah, so for the most part, it was the way I prefer to work. Any of you illustrators out there, I've done illustration for hire, and I know the pain in the butt that clients can be. So the way me and my business partner tend to work is mostly full creative control. if there are things that we just kind of pass it over to the artist and we're like, honestly, if you can get on board with how this works and how it looks, and if it feels good to you, that honestly should veto our feelings unless it clashes horribly with the theme or like the message of the game that we're trying to get across or the mechanics themselves. And so mostly I just turned it over to him. Bodhi did an amazing job. The color, he did it all in grayscale first, and then we applied the color kind of together. We went back and forth a bunch on color. But for the most part, I did like an initial sketch of just kind of showing him, obviously in my style, not his, just kind of showing layout and stuff. Originally, we had all of the streets on like an isometric view. So with each card, it would look like the people were walking around a corner.
Oh.
Which was cool initially, but there were some like card combinations that when they lined up, it just broke it and it just didn't look right. And so we flattened it to just kind of like this flat street view, which I think was the better choice at the end of the day. Especially with like lighting systems and stuff, you would have like one side of the building be bright and the other one be in shadow, and it just started not making sense with like how the people lined up. So that was the one major thing that he came back with one, and I like printed them out and I was messing with them and I was like, no, we have to change something. So that was where we really went back and forth. But other than that, I was just like, man, do your thing, because I love it.
Cool. I like that. So from beginning to end, and actually I'm going to say almost end, because even though you're funding on Kickstarter, you have to
Right.
you have to do fulfillment and all that other stuff. We've talked about some of the different challenges. We've mentioned some of the challenges that you've had. Is there anything that pops out or that just stands out that was, man, I wish I had more help with this, or you understood something a little bit more?
The place where I would just love a mentor, if you will, is just like the idea of distributing worldwide, localization, those nitty gritty things that personally, it's not my favorite thing. I don't love dealing with it. But I know it has to be done. It's just something that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. We've talked to so many distribution partners in the UK, Australia, China, like trying to work out. I mean, you don't really know how much you're going to send them until your campaign is pretty much done, and that's when you need to start like pushing go on things, right? So there's just like this weird like subtle timeline where we've lined up like warehouses and distribution partners and stuff like that. We don't know if we'll actually end up even using them. It's really just kind of getting quotes, trying to work that into the price of each game. And I don't know, that's the one part that I'm like, I think we've done our due diligence, and Jamie Stegmeier's blog has been amazing, which I'm sure industry wide people find that
Yeah.
wealth of information so valuable. And I just need to start plowing through every single article at some point, because it's amazing what he's done. And I'm wondering if we should set up a blog on our website that tries to do a similar thing, just because the more information we can get out there, the more people can successfully make board games. And
Right.
that's something that we definitely want to encourage. So that's probably been the weirdest thing, is just some of these business logistics that it's like, man, we may have to localize these rules in French and German and stuff, and we need to line up translators and a lot of that stuff that is just, when you get it in mass, it's all a little bit overwhelming, to be
Yeah.
completely
Well,
honest.
you're dealing with the world now. It's not your immediate
Right.
family of 10 brothers and sisters.
Right.
which
Yeah, it's
which to me,
crazy.
like, that's a big world for me, having to I'm an only child, so if you can imagine hearing that, like, wow, that's crazy. Um,
Yeah.
Looking at your Kickstarter page, I did notice that you're trying to be a little more sustainable, which I
Right.
absolutely love. You're going to see if things can be delivered by train or local
Right.
game stores. Can you
Hmm.
speak to that a little bit? Even the
Yeah.
manufacturing process, you're looking for eco-friendly
Right.
locations to develop your game.
Right. So one of the big things that was brought up at the beginning was like, with a roll and write, you're just going through sheets of paper each time.
Mhm.
One of our add-ons that we're working with the factory right now will be dry erase sheets that you can opt for for. The reason why we went with papers instead of dry erase from the beginning was, one, we didn't want to source and include like dry erase markers, that opens up a whole lot of like reliability issues and stuff with like if it's not really well sealed in packaging and stuff like that. There's also for inks and stuff, there's different regulations worldwide for shipping. And anyway, a lot of things. The biggest thing was that it would limit you to the number of dry erase sheets that you had. So we would be looking at a 4 to 6 player game. We love that you can sit down with a group of 10 people, as long as they can see the cards and dice, like you can play with an unlimited number of players. So that's why we went with a pad of paper, but we are looking to have a dry erase option as add-ons. If you don't care about player count, then add on the dry erase and you'll be good to go. We're hoping that'll be around like $5 to $10, but we're checking with our manufacturers. And then, when we selected a manufacturer, that was definitely something we were concerned about, is minimal waste, recycling, and all of that, because we don't want to be a burden on the environment in any way. Where possible, we use trains instead of boats because they're more efficient. And then the biggest thing that came up kind of at the end of while we were putting this together is I was just thinking about how we could alleviate some of the shipping costs for Kickstarter right now, because I get that you don't want to pay $10 shipping on a $25 game, but it's honestly costing around $23 to ship anywhere outside of the United States. So, what we're trying to do is we have a program drafted where we can put in the backers information and then local game stores addresses, and it will actually identify hubs for local pickup. So once we have the backers and once we collect backer information, we should be able to, which is one reason why we're also using Backer Kit, so that we can adjust and adapt our pledges post campaign, because we may be able to refund or offer some people free shipping if they're willing to pick up at a local game store. And it's just kind of a win-win situation for everybody, because the local game stores are guaranteed somebody visiting, whether they've been there or not. Like, people get exposure to local game stores, which we're also very passionate about supporting local game stores. And then in addition to that, backers get free shipping. We just have to ship a box, especially if the store itself is willing to shelve some of our product. Then it's just there is no downside. It's less shipping costs, it's less emissions, it's all around just a better thing for everybody. So it's highly experimental, and I'll be completely upfront with that. We always have the fallback, which is we'll just ship to you normally. But I think in a world where shipping costs are rising and all of that, we have to get clever. And this is our effort to try and do something different. And if it works well, maybe we can fine tune the process, set up these distribution channels, and just tap into these local game stores as support for delivering games.
You heard it here first, folks. This is going to change the game, hopefully.
Change the world.
Change the world. And that's no pun intended, either or.
That's right.
So we're back to all the way through. You're fully funded. How was marketing for you?
Marketing has been interesting. As a new game company, especially, a lot of these things are kind of like a snowball effect, where once you have done your first project, you have a group of people who know your products, you have their emails, they've backed you before, like all of that stuff kind of accumulates over time. And so that's one reason why we started with a roll, right? It's pretty low complexity. It's dice, cards, and paper. Like, there's not too much that can go wrong as far as sculpts and reliability, plastic quality, stuff like that. So we wanted to start with something that was pretty guaranteed to be a great experience, and then use that to kind of gather our following. And one of our biggest helps as far as the marketing, we haven't done paid advertising on Facebook, Board Game Geek, Backer Kit. Like, I think Jellup is the other one that people use a lot. We haven't done any of that, partially because we're a brand new company and we don't have a lot of liquid funds. The second is we really are focusing on a local group that kind of knows and understands us. I've tapped into my Instagram community as the board game critic, and which everybody's been so supportive, like you. That's how we know each other, right? It's just been amazing to see people step up on like a personal level. And so we've done conventions locally where we'll play, gather emails, and just kind of try and get that face-to-face groundwork laid instead of going for like kind of like the really flashy, like, hey, here's an advertisement, like this is going to be the new and hottest thing, because I don't think it will be. I think this is a fun game that people will be happy to have in their collections, but in the end this is more to establish relationships as a company and just kind of get face to face with people. So local conventions and stuff like that have easily been our most beneficial and our highest emphasis of where we're trying to make connections.
Excellent. Face to face,
Yep,
McKay. Are
that's right.
you? We are going to be face to face very soon in
I'm so
December.
excited.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Are you going to have a copy of your game for us to play,
Um,
for people to play?
I will probably have. I mean, I'm definitely bringing like my prototypes at the very least.
Mhm.
If here's the thing, we need to know like quantities. I'm working really hard with local game stores and stuff to kind of get an idea of how many games we need to order. We're hoping to kick off manufacturing way before the campaign's over.
Okay.
I think the campaign ends right around the time PAX will be happening. PAX Unplugged is what Roberto's referring to. Um, so I'm hoping that we'll at least have like some physical samples, if not actual production of the game. It'll all depend on how fast we can kind of get a gauge of whether we're ordering 500, 1,000, 2,000 copies, etc.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you have other games in the pipeline, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to talking to you again about your other games coming through. It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure having you on and talking to you. We're really good friends outside of this, so thank you for coming on. I'm excited to see you in December
That's
and
right.
play this game. I can't wait to have this game in my hands. But
Cool.
until all these cool things will happen, happy gaming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.